right, drums and percussion readers, we're here in New York again, late at night when all the jazz is happening. And in this workshop, we're going to talk to piano players. The piano player is your friend. It's real important to understand how they think so that you can function properly with any piano player you want to. They have a different way of thinking, and it's important to know how they want you to play so that you can adapt into any musical situation you might encounter. Okay, like we did last time with bass players, we're going to have interviews and see what the first thing they want to know, they want to hear from drummers is. All right, so let's go. All right, folks, I'm here in New York with Dan Tepfer, great pianist, one of my favorite piano players because he has amazing rhythmic concepts as well, and is an absolutely wonderful player. We've done a gig before many years ago. I've known him for many years, fantastic player, and I just had to get him for the magazine because I think he has a very important rhythmic concepts, and it'd be great for us to hear what he thinks about jazz drummers. So Dan, what's the first thing you want to hear from a jazz drummer?
I think the first thing I want to hear is listening. That's paramount, with any musician, but maybe even more so in a drummer because it's a loud instrument, and as a pianist, it can be easy to feel kind of overwhelmed by the drums.
Right.
I come from a certain school of jazz, I guess. I've been playing with Lee Konitz for 12 years, and I also play a lot of classical music. I have a project where I play the Goldberg Variations and improvise after each one, and play a lot of solo. So when I have a drummer in my trio or something like that, it can happen if it's the wrong person that I feel like would be better off without him, because just getting in the way all the time. Right? But of course, with a great drummer, somebody who's listening, played a fair amount with Billy Hart, for example, who's to me one of the great examples of someone who can just find exactly the right dynamic and blend, with whoever he's playing with. And it can get really loud if that's what's called for, and it can be all brushes for an entire evening if that's what's called for. If you're playing with somebody great, it just brings so much. I mean, I just love rhythm and I love drummers, so listening will be the first thing.
Awesome. A lot of bass players told us the same thing, so it's absolutely important that thing. We're going to talk about how to develop listening skills also in another workshop. So what's like the second thing you hear for? You like to listen for
with a drummer?
Yeah.
I think I like to what really stands out for me in a drummer is when they have their own voice, and that's a little harder to define. That's pretty special when you're playing with somebody where you feel like they have a real personal aesthetic and position to be bringing into the music. But that takes a lot of time. That can't be forced.
Sure.
Whereas the listening can happen right away.
Yeah, right. As long as you have the right people on your side, that's very important to help you learn about that. All right, great. My brother Dan Tepfer, thank you, man. All right, drums and percussion readers, we're here with Jess Jurkovic in New York, great piano player, and he's going to give us his view on the question of the month here of the issue. What is the first thing that you like to hear from a jazz drummer?
Sensitivity. I like a drummer who is listening to what is happening and able to react, but also able to support what's happening. Very often a drummer is there in an accompanimental role. I'm as a piano player, I know that too. Very often I'm accompanying as well. But when a drummer can be supportive and grooving and sensitive, that's really what makes me happy.
Okay, awesome. Now, let's dig just a little bit deeper.
Okay.
What's the second thing you like to hear?
I like a sense of personality from a drummer. I like getting a sense that they are not just there to keep time, but they're also not there to be egotistical and to be the center of attention. Maybe if you're Art Blakey, you can be the center of attention, and because it's your band and you're the drummer and all that, that's fine. Otherwise, I like players with their own kind of sense of self and the sense of musicality, I
Unique
guess.
voice.
I think that might be a good way to
Okay,
say it. Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
One of the most common things that the other players want to hear from us is our own voice. Very interesting. That's almost everybody's said that. Yeah,
Okay.
crazy.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Jess.
My pleasure.
The man,
My
great
pleasure.
player here in New York, Jess Jerkovic. Now we have another great pianist here in New York, Sarah Sion. Lovely
everyone.
player, lovely player, beautiful, great, fantastic player, and I really think it's going to be great for us to have her ideas on our task, on our quest here. So, Sarah,
Thank you, Phil.
you're welcome. What's the first thing you want to hear from a jazz drummer?
Well, Phil, I would say that from a pianist perspective, I just look for him to hold down the time. I don't mean that in a simplistic way, but for example, when it comes to time to do fours, trading, I want to know where I am. Because even though I have a strong internal sense of time and I can count, there are some drummers that like to get very fancy. So if the drummer can at least make it clear, then we're all good.
Okay, good. That's in big part a question of musicality. All right, so that's really good stuff. All right, so what's like the second most important thing you want to hear?
Okay, well, the second most important thing, I guess I like to hear is someone listening to me and interacting with me dynamically, because I'm very sensitive to artistry and sound, and I just love the interplay. And if I know that the drummer is actually listening and not just in their own world, and we're communicating together, then I will have a sense of peace and excitement, and my passion can come forward a lot more strongly when I'm very in tune with the conversational aspect of the interplay, what we're doing together. If that makes sense.
Absolutely. We had several great points. Okay, musicality, dynamics, sensitivity. All right, those are things that all piano players are requesting or have as a priority.
We need passionate musicians and artistry in this world, and I guess you can't even box it in and call it jazz anymore. It's just music.
Right. There's so many
styles.
Yeah.
You can't really.
Right. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Sarah. We really appreciate it. Drums and Percussion Magazine. All right, Drums Percussion readers, we have Edsel Gomez with us, fantastic jazz pianist in New York, and he's given us his contribution to the workshop. Edsel, what's the first thing you want to hear from a jazz drummer?
Before I get into hearing the first hit, first thing is the attitude. When you are going to play, you have to be focused that you are going to be playing, and you are going to be playing with different musicians, or even the same musicians, but you cannot be just focused on your drum set and, okay, this is my sound and I'm ready to play the latest Vinny Colaiuta Antonio Sanchez lick right here by myself. And, that already cuts the vibe. It's important that you create a vibe among the musicians, especially the drummer. Everybody has a different sense of time. Everybody has a different sense of feeling the music, no matter what rhythm it may be. So the attitude is very, very, very important. How you connect with the people, how you connect with the other musicians, and the drummer is together with the bass is the heart of the band, right? You're playing the rhythm. You are supposed to keep time, but also more important than that, you are supposed to make music.
Right, that's great. That's really great. Okay, now, what's the second most important thing you like to listen for?
The second most important thing is the support,
Yeah.
which is Of course, we all want to have a drummer with a good timing, a good feel, with, that listens, that reacts, interacts with the band, and plays support to everybody, and connects together with the percussions and the bass and the piano, which is another percussion instrument. But how do you do that? Well, you have to play the melody. You have to be with the melody. The melody dictates the time. So it's very...
Wait a minute, that was very interesting. The melody dictates the time. Okay, you guys, that's interesting.
So it becomes very difficult for you to lose time. It becomes, if you know the melody, you are not going to play ahead of it or going to play behind it, because you're following the melody, as opposed to if you are concentrating on the rhythm, just the rhythm, and you're not connecting with the band. You're playing by yourself. You may rush, you may, drag the time, but if you have the melody in your mind, it's very hard that you're gonna get out of that.
That's very interesting concept, man. That's really cool. Great. Fantastic. Edsel Gomez. Yes.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you. Thank you. Good luck.
So I just want to share a couple of concepts that I have about playing with piano players. I think the first thing that you have to understand as a drummer is that this instrument is a highly sensitive, dynamic instrument, okay? It has a small range of volume as opposed to drums, which can go from a whisper to a thunder. So I think that's one of the main reasons why many piano players, the first thing they ask you for is sensitivity, okay? Be aware that you're playing with a, $50,000 instrument here, and it's not easy to play over drums when the drums aren't listening or not interacting properly with the piano. Even to the point where some great piano players even will protest if you have the wrong cymbals. That's partly the reason why I designed my own cymbals, because they listen to the frequencies of the cymbal, and if it's something that gets in the way of their work, in the way of their ear, it can be disturbing. Now just check this out. Just listen to this. Okay, that's so simple but so beautiful, and it's not like they can pound and make that sound louder, right? When you are playing an instrument like this, I think you develop a real sensitivity to music in a way that perhaps at first in drumming you don't, because it's delicate nature. Okay, so my advice to you is always be friends with the piano player. The piano player is your friend. Ask, how you would like to play, how they would like for you to play, if that's something that's possible. Of course, you can amplify this instrument and then a lot of things change. But you still have to have sensitivity. It's not like playing jazz, it's not playing, funk or other types of music where the dynamic range is really not as pronounced, okay? And in jazz, you have so much dynamic range that you really have to have a massive sensitivity to everything that's going on, especially dynamic-wise. So, I think that's personally why so many piano players ask for the same thing. Now, just play something. It's so delicate and beautiful that you have to develop, an awareness, almost like a hyper awareness, to control your volume. And another thing you have to do is be able to burn but play soft, volume-wise. Okay, that is not easy. But piano players will love you, especially jazz pianists. If you're playing in a live situation in a club or something, maybe where miking is not possible, or it's hard to hear. Man, if you can burn and play soft volume, That's an incredibly very useful asset in your drumming. Okay, so those are my concepts for playing with piano players. I hope you enjoyed this workshop, and I thank the great players again for contributing, and they did it with all their hearts to reach out to the drumming community here. All right, see you in the next workshop.